Hey Freedom Lovers, this is Dr. Peterson Pierre with America's Frontline Doctors bringing you today's Daily Dose. If there were ever any doubt that vaccine mandates are about control, not health, look no further. On July 28th, the American Academy of Pediatrics issued a draconian policy statement calling for the elimination of non-medical exemptions to vaccine mandates for children. In their own words, quote, the AAP advocates for the elimination of non-medical exemptions from immunizations as contrary to optimal individual and public health, end quote. It's hard to know where to begin with something this outrageous. When did doctors become gods? Who gave these pediatricians the ability to override parental rights and informed consent? When did physicians begin to imagine they had jurisdiction over decisions that are by definition non-medical? The AAP has long abandoned medical science. The AAP endorsed school closures. It cheered on physical distancing and the forced masking of toddlers. To this day, it pushes the experimental mRNA shots on children, despite them being at statistically zero risk of severe illness or death from COVID-19. None of these policies were backed by real-world evidence or outcomes. The AAP lobbied the Biden administration to push the mRNA shots on children and aggressively opposed state-level bills aimed at curbing mandates. In 2021, when myocarditis and pericarditis began to show as safety signals, the AAP didn't back down. It joined the CDC, HHS, and other captured institutions in claiming such side effects were extremely rare, and that children were more likely to get heart inflammation from COVID than from the shots. This wasn't medicine, it was marketing. The AAP's betrayal of science didn't stop there. It continues to support the medical mutilation of children through puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and so-called gender-affirming surgeries. And despite all clinical evidence to the contrary, it lies and calls the damage, quote, reversible. The AAP's support for the pseudoscientific abuse of minors is so extreme that 21 state attorneys general launched an investigation in September. And in October, when detransitioners attempted to tell their stories at the AAP's Orlando conference, the AAP booted them from the premises. They didn't want to listen. They wanted to enforce an agenda. The AAP is not a neutral medical association. According to its own IRS Form 990, the AAP spends heavily each year on lobbying and advocacy. In addition to the tens of millions of taxpayer dollars it receives, and please, can someone justify why medical organizations receive taxpayer dollars? $35 million last fiscal year alone. The AAP is funded by the very corporations that profit from mandates. They have received hundreds of thousands from vaccine manufacturers like Pfizer and Merck, and they have the audacity to call themselves objective. The truly insidious part is that the AAP continues to parade as an impartial medical authority, when in reality they are the policy enforcement wing of the medical industrial complex. The media gladly plays along, treating the AAP's press releases as gospel and propping them up as medical experts. But they're not. They're lobbyists with stethoscopes. And now, they're openly calling for the violation of our civil and religious rights. Religious exemptions are not a loophole. They're a constitutional right. The First Amendment guarantees religious freedom. The 14th Amendment protects the right to refuse unwanted medical treatment. Religious exemptions were the only legal refuge for many Americans trying to escape an experimental injection that injured and killed more than the AAP will ever admit. The same shots the AAP insisted were safe and effective. The name American Academy of Pediatrics is a misnomer. There's nothing American about advocating for the abolition of liberty in the name of public health. There's nothing pediatric about pushing mass dangerous injections and permanent sterilization on children. It's time to stop pretending they're anything more than the lobbying arm of the medical industrial complex. Doctors have no business outside the bounds of medicine and absolutely no authority to cancel parental rights. If your children's doctor is an AAP member, it's probably time to switch. I've told you many times they're not trustworthy. Now, their own words have incriminated them. But to be clear, I'm talking about them as a group, not each individual, because obviously there are exceptions to this rule. But make sure you choose wisely, because the health of your child could be at risk. Ladies and gentlemen, only the truth will set you free. Stay tuned for the next Daily Dose.